I am Joe Orgee and we farm in Muchcowan, Herefordshire. We have chickens, cattle and arable. Chickens are free range. We've got 48,000 layers, an in-house suckler herd, and the rest is in an arable rotation: wheat, barley, oilseed rape, maize and beans. In 2018 we built the additional shed, which meant we'd have more manure on the farm to deal with. We use the manure for our own ground, which obviously saves a lot in fertiliser bills, and then any excess that we have left over we sell that to farmers in the area for their own use. We are careful to make sure it's used properly once it leaves the farm, and that it's in their interest to be moving it in dry conditions for tipping in the fields and using as soon as possible. From when we first built the chicken sheds, obviously we had lush green grass everywhere, but after about 12 months of the chickens constantly using it and using every inch of it, we found that we needed to manage it a lot differently than just a grass field. With Noah's encouragement and also Dad, who's a very keen tree planter, we planted over 1,000 trees in each range to try and suck up some of the moisture that's being caused and any excess muck that's coming out from the chickens, and to encourage the birds out and to hopefully give them cover for protection and encourage their natural habitat in the wild. And again, it's just a happy place for the birds to be, and then the main thing is it looks good for the public to see the birds out in a range that's well managed, well covered, and it's got natural cover for them, really. During 2021 there was a big emphasis on the River Wye, with the amount of nutrients getting in there that weren't useful to the river and potentially affecting it, and there was a lot of blame aimed, or a lot of criticism aimed at the poultry farmer, in particular probably free range egg farmers like ourselves, because obviously we're ranging 365 days of the year. Rain or shine, the birds are outside for the welfare and obviously to keep that free range egg standard. But I was quite concerned looking into the future that potentially our product would be at risk of being a nuisance to the environment, and it's not just me, but it's every poultry farmer, and I really wanted to do something about it. With Noble Foods myself and Wye Usk Foundation, we decided to put in a wetland, so the source of the water is coming from the ranges where the chickens go out, and obviously after the continued ranging of the birds over the last few years, the nutrients in the soil have built up, and therefore in a deluge of rain there's obviously a lot of nutrients being stripped and potentially lost in the river. So this is what this is doing, is slowing it all down, taking out what it needs to, and then putting it back into the river at a suitable level. In terms of the other ground around here, we don't have any other drains running into it from arable fields, but potentially it's a brilliant idea for the low-lying parts of the farm with arable to sort of filter those as well, and at least we're safe in the knowledge then that any excess nutrients that have been put on the ground that are leaching out at least can be cleaned up before causing any real damage further downstream.
My name's Bridie Whittle. I work for the Wye Usk Foundation. I'm a catchment advisor. I work with a project that's funded by food businesses and multiple retailers. It's called the Courthold Initiative. It's a voluntary initiative. They are working to try and reduce their impact on water resources in the catchments from which they source a lot of their food, one of which is the Wye and the Usk catchment. So I have been doing a lot of work with free-range poultry producers across the catchment for quite a few years now. A lot of Herefordshire is drained, and we know that we're losing nutrients through these drains, and nobody has suggested another solution for that. We have to try and manage nutrient applications to land, we have to try and run down nutrient levels in soils. It's very difficult to do that on a poultry range because you have a lot of birds using that range, which is good to see, and that's what we want to see on a free range unit. But we know that there's a risk that over time those nutrients will accumulate in those soils and that those soils will lose nutrients. So this is a really good natural solution for trying to mop up some of those excess nutrients that might get washed out in soils. So there are 11 pools in this sequence. It's about 300 metres long. We're aiming for really shallow depth of water, so I know that when we've talked about this kind of feature with other farmers, free-range farmers, and in fact with Joe and the Orgees, they were concerned about having a pool close to a poultry range because of AI. In fact, this is very shallow water and they're fully vegetated with wetland plants. The aim is to have the surface completely covered with vegetation. We've got 11 species in here. So we have yellow flag iris, greater pond sedge, lesser reed mace and reed sweetgrass as our 4 main big hitting species that are very good at taking up nutrients, and the other 6 species that we have in here are mostly for biodiversity interest, and it all looks beautiful in the spring when they start to flower. It's a really biodiverse, rich habitat that's great for invertebrates and wildlife.
I think we would have struggled without the support from the Wye Usk Foundation, Noble Foods and all the other people who've helped us get this in place really. The help and advice has meant that as an agricultural business like ourselves, as well as all the other industries of agriculture, have something to work towards and something to think about in the future, how we can improve the waterways and sort of look to the future after that really. If we deal with the problems that we've dealt with on our farm, it's sort of ticking that problem off, allowing us to keep farming and keep supplying British food.